You know what the worst part is? When your own mother looks at you and doesn't see a daughter, she sees an ATM. A living, breathing ATM that's supposed to dispense money on demand. And I let it happen for years. It started small. About a year after my dad passed, Mom was alone with a good pension but a huge hole in her heart. And I, of course, jumped to help with every call. The fridge broke. Don't worry, Mom. Mark and I will buy a new one. A leaky faucet? We'll find a plumber. I thought I was being caring, that I was gluing our family back together. Meanwhile, my husband Mark and I were living in a tiny rented apartment, saving every penny for a down payment on our own home. Our vacations were a trip to the pizza place on a Friday night. We gave up everything. I wore the same jeans for 3 years. This was our sacred shared goal, a roof of our own. But the calls from Mom became more frequent, and the requests got bigger. First, it was small household things. Then, "Sweetie, I've got some credit card debt. Can you help?" "I'll pay you back." "I'll pay you back." That was her favorite phrase, one that never actually happened. One night, she called me crying, saying she might have cancer, that she needed money for urgent, expensive tests. In a panic, I took $5,000 from our savings deposit, almost a third of all we had. Mark was furious. We had our first big fight. But I begged him, she's my mom. It's her life. A week later, I dropped by her place unannounced. She opened the door, a perfectly healthy, rested woman with a fresh, expensive manicure. No sign of illness. When I asked about the tests, she just waved it off. False alarm? Thank God. They scared me for nothing. Something inside me snapped, but I swallowed the hurt again. I activated convenient daughter mode, and then came that Tuesday. I was in a boring corporate training, scrolling through Facebook, and I saw a photo from my cousin. She was at a luxurious spa resort in Turkey, and in the background, by the pool with a cocktail in her hand, tanned and carefree, was my mom. The caption read, "Unforgettable vacation with my aunt. Thanks for 2 weeks in paradise." My fingers went cold. I zoomed in. It was her, the same woman who a month ago was sobbing on the phone about a terminal illness, the one whose treatment cost a third of our savings. I ran out of the training room. I was shaking. I called my cousin. She, embarrassed, confirmed it. Yes, Mom paid for everything herself. And not just that, this wasn't even her first trip in the last year. I went to her house that same evening. I didn't yell. I was quiet. Too quiet. I printed the photo and put it on the table in front of her. Next to it, a bank statement showing the transfer of those $5,000. "Explain," I said. She didn't even flinch. She shrugged. "I'm old. I have a right to relax. And you should be happy that your mother can afford it." "Afford it?" I laughed, and it was a horrible, dry sound. "That's mine and Mark's money. That's our house." "You stole our house from us, Mom." And then she said the phrase that shattered my heart for good. She looked at me with an icy stare and said, "I gave birth to you. I fed you. I clothed you. You owe me your entire life. And if I want you to, you will work 3 jobs to pay for my travels. That's your debt." That night, I didn't cry from hurt. I cried from the realization that my mother was an emotional vampire, and that if I didn't cut the rope now, she would drag me and Mark under. The next morning, I sent her a long message. I clearly and coldly explained that from that day on, her financial problems were her problems, that I wouldn't give another cent, that our relationship could only continue on terms of mutual respect. The response was an hour-long stream of insults in the messenger. Then calls from aunts accusing me of being heartless. Then, radio silence. That silence has lasted for 6 months now. Yes, it hurts. Yes, I sometimes look at her photo and sob. I'm mourning the mother I had in childhood because the woman she is now is a completely different person. But you know what? Mine and Mark's savings account is growing again. For the first time in 5 years, we allowed ourselves a small vacation, and we were looking into a future without that constant, heavy stone around our necks.
I chose myself.
I chose my family, the one I'm building with my husband, and even through the pain, I know it was the only right choice. What would you have done? Would you keep financing the life of a parent who manipulates you? Or would you find the strength to say, stop? I genuinely want to know your opinion in the comments. Thank you for listening to my pain.